Gaming is for friends.
I thought this music was so epic.
We all like talking about gaming.
The only thing that I disliked about the old game.
There are so many different conversations started by gaming.
Oh, I forgot. I have you.
This could be anything.
Can we walk in that green goo? Oh, nope. That's a no.
Anything Gaming Pod. Hi, welcome to Anything Gaming, episode 26. We're getting through some episodes. We're going to talk about some weird side quests later on. But first off, how are you, Woody, and what games have you been playing lately?
Oh, well, I've been doing fine, and I've still been deep into Fallout 4. I actually took a look to Fallout 3 just for the intro. I don't know where I'm going to go with it. I might stream it, I might not, but I just wanted to get the flavor of Fallout 3 because it's been so long. Other than that, I've been actually playing quite a bit of Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I got that as a gift a couple years ago, and it's one of those games I was like, someday I'll go through this game and I'll play it. And now I am. I'm at the part where I just found the yellow Pikmin, who are electricity Pikmin. And that's been fine.
I thought you were playing Pikmin 4 when you told me about this earlier, because I get confused between 3 and 4. I just finished 4, and I haven't played 3, so I'm not sure if they're the same. They've got the same Pikmins by the sound of it.
See, I played Pikmin 1 back in the day. I rented that, and it was fine. It didn't grab me, but I was like, all right, that game's cute. Never tried 2.
Yeah, right.
But I have a friend who's big into the Pikmin games, and he loves Pikmin 3. And he said, like, if you're going to play any one, play this one first. And this was before 4 came out. He still likes 4, but he said 3 was probably his favorite.
Okay. Because 4 was the one that I got into first. Like, a lot of people have told me about 4, and they said, oh, it's like a puzzle game, and I would like it. But I don't know. I just started with 4. I didn't mind 4, but maybe 3 is the one that I need to start with. Because, yeah.
Enjoying it so far. I mean, it's definitely not my cup of tea. You know, I'm a more visceral gamer, but it's fun. It's lighthearted. It's easy to play.
Yeah.
You know, it's not confusing at all. So, yeah, I'm having a good go with it.
That makes sense. I've actually played a few games myself this week. More than normal. Like, I don't know what's happening with me. I wrote a list so I wouldn't forget.
You got that fever, that video game fever.
Well, I did the indie thing last week, so I got told about Botany Manor, and so I had a go of that. It's not too bad. It's an interesting thing. It's a puzzle game where you're trying to work out how to grow plants, to put it as basically as possible. It's very chill, so it's not. I don't know if you'd like it a whole lot, but it's okay. I don't mind it. It's probably a little bit too chill for me. I wouldn't mind a little bit more action personally. But this other one I was playing, Another Crab's Treasure. Have you played that one at all?
Another Crab's Treasure. Now, is this a sequel to a game called Crab's Treasure? Or is that the original title?
No, it's Another Crab's Treasure, because it kind of uses the whole analogy of recycling, but recycling as in, like, your hat might not fit you anymore, but it could fit someone else. So this is basically around the idea of the crab isn't paying his beach taxes to the almighty crab lord. So he gets evicted from his shell, which is his house, obviously. So he then has to go and find other shells to kind of carry through the game. And like, he can swap shells and upgrade shells. Like, he could have like a Coke can or like all these bits of junk that another person's rubbish is another person's reward type thing.
Interesting.
But it's actually a roguelite game, which I found kind of weird for this type of genre. I was thinking it was going to be more cutesy and that, but you get a fork at the start and you get to stab other crabs. And there's a lot of crab fighting going on there. So, yeah. Something a bit different for looking at. And then I played Little Kitten, Big City. It's just a new game that's out. You play as a cat and you walk around a city. A little bit like Strays, but
Stray, yeah. Like when you said that, I was like, that's just Stray?
No, but this is more on the cutesy side. It's more the cozy side of that, where you trip over guys and they fall over and drop their phone, so you pick up their phone and run off, and you're doing like Strays has got like a bit of a darker side to it, if you will. When you get halfway through that game, it gets where this is all about the playfulness of the cats and how they it's kind of it's enough to keep you interested.
It can be kind of a downer, you know what I mean? Like with the dystopia and all that. So it's nice to play a lighthearted cat game.
Yeah. It's got some interesting kind of mechanics in it. So it's got this weird mechanic where so normally in games you just jump. You walk up to something and you hit the jump button and you jump. And you can kind of do that in this, but then you can also hold down the jump button when you get to the edge, and then all of a sudden you get like an aim where you're going to jump to thing come up, like the cat's rolling back ready to launch itself at whatever you throw it at, which is I don't know, it's a bit of a weird mechanic for a game. Most of the time it's just jump, but this is more on that launching thing, which I don't know, I don't mind it.
No, it sounds good.
So yeah, been busy doing games. I should get
no, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. Sorry, what are you gonna say?
No, another game I forgot that I am also playing through right now is Dusk.
Oh,
It's kind of an under the radar like old retro boomer shooter, like supposed to be in the style of like Quake 2. A little bit more, modern feeling than that though, but still, like you can tell the influences that it's got, and it's been great. I've been enjoying that a lot. It feels like just the sounds, the looks, it hits that retro style perfectly square on the head.
yeah. Okay.
Plus, there's some cool stuff, like there's soap you can find in the game, just like a bar of soap, and if you throw the bar of soap at someone, they explode. No explanation why. They just explode.
I think sometimes these things are like a part of the time. Like it might have been a joke at that particular time in life.
Oh yeah, no, I laughed. I was like, all right.
But you remember when you throw Nokia, the Samsung phones at people in GTA because that's what they were blowing.
They die. Just like real life.
Yeah. So maybe it was something to that where there was exploding soap or something back in those days.
Yeah. No, but that's well, I'm happy to hear that you are playing some games. It seems like you've been drifting away, and the games you've been playing, they sound unique as hell.
Oh, I did. Did you ever play Kona? It's or Kona. It's spelled with a K though. Kona.
Is that game like Monochrome? Or am I thinking of something different?
No, it's been a snow. You're up in Canada or something like that in a very snowy environment. And the game itself, when they advertise it, they make it feel like it's going to be like a Resident Evil type of game. It's got small amounts of vibes to it. Like that's where they've obviously got a little bit of influence from, but I wouldn't say it's definitely that type of game. But I just played the new sequel that came out of that as well. I was played a couple of hours of that to see what it's like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Any good?
I was hoping it'd be scarier or have a bit like there's a lot of walking simulator going on in this game. The story's kind of building, but you know in Resident Evil how they've just got a nice pacing where you walk far enough to kind of forget you're in a scary environment, but just as soon as you feel slightly safe, they go bang, here, jam this up you. You know, that Resident Evil does that really well. Well, this game you walk about 10 times further than you need to do to calm down, and then they start trying to throw some things in. It's loosely based around the idea of radiation from somewhere. I haven't worked out that. So that part's interesting in the story. You get one of those Geiger counters or whatever they call them, and you're walking around, and as you get more radioactive waves kind of coming into it, then you start getting the story come into the game. So that part's interesting.
Slow burn.
Yeah.
A slow radiation burn. I like it.
I would say that if you're going to play these games, definitely don't start with number 1. That was way more boring.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought I played number 1 and I only got part way into it and I thought this was boring. Number 2, I'm interested enough where I will go back and play a bit more. So I think start with number 2. I don't think I don't know if the story carries on. It could be bad advice, but it's definitely, some games don't worry about number 2. We're going to do that one episode where the sequels that you should have played number 1 or whatever.
Well, we already got so many, even with Pikmin.
Yeah.
I started with 3, so
Yeah.
we got our material for next week.
Yes. Helldiver. I wanted to dive into Helldiver.
Yeah.
2 in particularly.
Yeah, so that whole controversy there, having to sign in to your PSN account even if you're on computer.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, for a couple things. First off, just too many damn games have you sign into some account. I mean, put a gun to my head, I would not be able to tell you anything about my Ubisoft account. I just couldn't. I got one. I must have one. I play Ubisoft games. And they make,
Ubisoft does a really good job of accidentally linking you somehow. Where you don't even know you're linked up to Ubisoft, and then you open a game and they're like, "Oh, you've got this," and you're like, "Oh, I didn't even know that. Thank you."
No, there's just so much of that anyway. I actually just thought that was the thing. You had to do it. I didn't realize they just added it in. I thought that was what it was for all the Sony games on PC, Spider-Man, Last of Us, all that. I just wouldn't have been shocked because so many providers ask for that now.
Yeah.
So when they hit with that, the first thing I was like, what? That wasn't in there? Everyone has every right to be pissed at that. I mean, I don't
do you know what happened with the story? Just so everyone maybe is living under a rock.
All right. So yeah, what happened was Helldivers 2 made it necessary for you to link up your account with your PSN account so you could play, which means that you needed a PSN account. Now, depending on where you are in the world, establishing a PSN account might be tough. Especially if you're a PC gamer. So that alone would lock out some people. And of course, there is the just the general complaint of way too much of this crap going on, and now we're gonna have to do it again. And there were fine print details. I guess if you read it carefully, there is language saying that you might have to link up to your PSN account at some point. It's fine printed, it's buried, but it is there, so from a legal standpoint. Like I said, I really don't have a dog in that fight.
There's more going on with that you've left out of this story. So,
all right, give me.
Yeah. So what happened?
I didn't want to get to the end yet.
Okay, but the developers actually went out on Twitter and told everybody that owns the game to go and put a negative review in. The developers told everyone to put the negative review on Steam. That
was them saving face. I didn't want to get to this part yet, but they've since rescinded it. You don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a happy ending for this. In a way, you don't get too many happy endings like this.
No.
I think the developers, they balled up and they made the change, and it worked for everybody. Maybe not so much Sony.
See, I don't think the developers made the change. I think. See, Sony's publishing them.
The people made the change.
Yeah, the publishers made the change. Yeah, the publishers. So then, I think that one of the sweetest things about this story, just to show you how great that community is on Helldivers 2, is I've never seen a game go from mostly negative reviews on Steam to mostly positive reviews overnight. So everyone that put a negative review in went back in once they fixed it and changed it back to positive reviews the day after, and the game went from bad to great again. I think that's pretty crazy to think. That's people power right there.
I would love to see the sales for the game from this point going forward now. I want to know if that was bad, because there was bad publicity. It was ugly for a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a PSN account, so if I want to play Helldivers on my PC, it would be nothing to me. But for some people, it would be something too. So for everyone to band together and say, no, this is BS, we're not going to do this. And for the developers to, stand by the people on that one, like you said, they sent out that tweet on X.
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, like it's just like a really good ending that I hope stays a good ending. I hope it doesn't get ugly. But I will say this, going forward, I hope everyone is going to be used, because now Sony's just going to say straight out, we're releasing it. And yes, you will need to, before you buy the game, you're going to need a PSN account for this.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's going to be coming up now.
Well, I was really surprised it didn't start with it also. Like that's a very strange way to release a game and then ask for it like 6 months into it. Like why make it a thing if you want to, I don't know. I think they mucked up there.
It's not the most effed up mock-up I've ever seen this kind. Like, I've seen worse and I've seen horrible consequences. But it's just such a weird story. Like, it made no sense. Like I said, like, I figured they always had that. I don't know why they wouldn't. It'd be nice if they didn't, because that's annoying. Halo, for example, when I went to play Halo because I was playing through Steam, you have to hook up your Microsoft Xbox account to that, and it's just like, oh, fine, whatever. Another 30 seconds of my life I don't get back, I suppose.
Yeah, but I feel like everyone didn't care about that as much, because that was most people that are running Steam. I think 98% of them are on Windows devices, so they're like, whatever. We're logged into Windows anyway. Yeah. So it's not as much of a twisting your arm and breaking your back kind of move as what I think it is when you PlayStation, where especially if you have no need for a PlayStation thing to go, hey, we want you to do this.
The first game I remember actually like doing that was one of the Assassin's Creeds.
Oh yeah, they did something too. Like,
they've been doing it for a while, like at least 10 years. And yeah, you boot it up and be like, hey, they got a name for their service. I completely forget what it is. I know EA has Origin, but I
think Origin died. I'm pretty sure EA quit. Is Origin still a thing?
The last time I used Origin was to buy Command & Conquer on my computer.
Yeah, that's what, I'm pretty sure it's shut down. They just decided to go with that whole subscription model, so there's no EA thing. So, yeah. Here's my guess going forward with this, though. In the next month, Helldivers 2 will be on sale.
That leads into that, yeah. With all this publicity, cut the price down, yeah.
That's my guess.
Who knows? Maybe I'll buy it.
I'm gonna buy it if it goes on sale, just so I can.
I'm not buying it on my PC. I'll buy it for my PS5.
Yeah, me too. I want it on PS5.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the Tomb Raider's been going on sale a bit, and I've been like, oh, should I buy the remakes? But I want it on Nintendo, and it doesn't seem to go on sale on Nintendo. So
I've been doing good. I haven't bought any new games because I want to really hunker down and try to, because I have such a backlog. If we're just talking modern games, I'm not even talking about the older stuff. We're talking at least like 6 or 10 games. Reasonably, like actual games I'd be like, I want to play through that and see the end.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It takes sometimes a long time to get through all of them. I've been trying to. I go on and play small amounts of games now. I just want to know why is this game popular? Why is that game? I'm not as addicted to finishing games as I used to be. It's hard to find that game that just draws me through. Like Resident Evils were the ones that did that to me, and
especially those big open world games. It's like, where does it end?
Oh, I think everyone should just make games now 10 hours or less, just so we can get through it. Let's just drop the price of games down to $40 and make them all 10 hours and less, and that way people that can play through them. Fine.
Like, just to put it in perspective. You can get everything in complete the original Zelda. Like, assuming that you don't die much, that's got to be like 3 hours-ish for me, at least.
Well,
bring it back down to that.
Well, I think less than 10 hours. Like, what was The first big one was that Oblivion? Or was that one of the first? Because I remember everyone when that came out, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, this game's 60 hours long," and I'm like, "I don't want that. Why are we doing this?" That just.
But
seems...
you know why that game was so long though? The side quests. That's what bumped it up.
That was the best one we got to. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Best pun
Open
ever.
that up, side quest. Well, that's what it is. You got all these, and it's kind of funny because now that we're segueing into side quests, that is now the way to pump up a game. I can't think of a super long game, like a really long game, that has no side quest.
No, you're right. There's,
you
really
like, what's
do
the
need
longest
side
game
quests.
that just has like a direct path from point A to point B? I can't think of one.
We're gonna have to do some Googling and homework on this question.
Even like Resident Evil 4, for example, the new one, there are side quests in that now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, do you get those things for the guy? Kill those.
I haven't done that one yet. That's the one I'm up to.
Oh yeah, like there's little side quests in that now. Dead Space, that had some side quests to it too.
Yeah. Now you think.
Because if you were to just like ignore the side quest and just go right through, I mean, it's short, but you pump in those side quests.
Well, that's
also when the side quests
that's the one thing now. Like, I love buying a game without any of the DLC because it's just sometimes they're only 10 hours. It's like I'm just like, yes, I don't want all your side crap. I just want to do the game and then I'm done. Like, that's it.
Well,
but I can't even think of a game that's like super long. Just would it be a Final Fantasy or something like that potentially?
Well, but even Final Fantasy, why it doesn't have like traditional side quests and the fact that it's like recorded on your log. Let's just use 7 as an example. You don't have to go through. You don't really have to breed chocobos in that game at all. You don't. You want to because that's how you get the Knights of the Round materia, and that's how you just screw Sephiroth's lunch straight down his throat. But doing that, it is a side quest. You got to do a lot of stuff on the side. You got to race those things. You got to feed them the right way. You got to breed them to get the right coloring installed. And it's completely separate from the main quest.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be a side quest, and that's just an example of a side quest. There's a bigger one in Final Fantasy VII. The entire island of Wutai, where Yuffie's from, you never have to visit that. Like, not once in the game, but it is a side quest, and it adds a lot to that game. So yeah, if you were to take away all that stuff from Final Fantasy VII, that's gotta be like 15 hours. Like the chocobo breeding itself, there's got to be a good chunk of that game.
Yeah, okay. I've just thought of one. Maybe, hear me out. Yoshi's Paper World or whatever it is.
All right, no, okay. So
that's a very big game. It is because none of that's a side quest. They just make you replay levels to get more hours out of it.
In fact, I'll even include like a lot of those platformers that we were talking about because like take Mario 64. Each star, that's not a side quest. That's something you have to do. You need stars to progress. That's an object. That is the point of the game. It's not on the side. And Yoshi has the same thing going on the side. It's a thing you must do to progress through the game. So yeah, that's damn close to an example.
They're pretty much the longest ones. So right off the bat, if I say to you, great side quest, what do you think of?
It's funny. I mentioned to you I just started Fallout 3, and it's funny with both Fallout games that I've been playing. Once you get out to the world, all the DLC or mods or side quests, all that just pop up in your log. And one of them for Fallout 3, to the pit, where you go to like the ruins of Pittsburgh and you fight in arenas and stuff. I love that side quest. That was one of my favorite that's probably one of my favorite RPG side quests of all time. The setting, the story, there's a moral choice, the weapon you get is cool. It's an overall very fun side quest. It's beefy. It's definitely a more beefier side quest, because there's quests within the side quest.
Yeah, side quest within a side quest is just like the ultimate side questery. But I guess what you kind of answered my other question about all this is what makes a good side quest, and I think it's about getting those things in the game that you wouldn't have got unless you did that side quest.
The reward
Has
is
to
the
be
best part of the side quest, which is why I'm not a huge fan of like the loot box system.
Mm-hmm.
Although that's not really a side quest, that's just stuff you're doing. But there's nothing more depressing when you work your ass off for something, and it's not a unique thing, you know. Going back to the pit there's like different weapons that you can only get doing that. There's different armor you can get only doing that. Other various items and whatnot, and other games too, like the materia I mentioned, Final Fantasy VII. The reward has to be worth it. And it has to help you with the main. It has to be something that makes you go, if I don't get this, the main quest is going to be tougher.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then there's other side quests that I've really enjoyed over the times. Far Cry 3 had a few of them. But I think the peak of side quests, we'll get to that in a minute, but I think like Borderlands had it with Mixie's crazy stuff, and they had like also had weird kind of funny things going on in those side quests. I love a side quest that takes you out of the game and does something like completely unique with you. Far Cry 5, so it's set in Cuba, and you're playing through it, and then all of a sudden you end up in the Stranger Things. That was the side quest, and you're down in this thing, and all of a sudden you're shooting all these alien things that are from Stranger Things, and it's so fun and unreal. Like, it's probably one of my favorite side quests, even though it was kind of a bit of a promotion for Stranger Things as well. But just managing to fit that into the environment, they've done such a great job of taking you from this world into that world and then back again. It was so crazy cool. Yeah. Do you have like moments like that where you've been transported to a different place because of the side quests?
Well, I mean, yes, going back to the RPG. It's always cool when a side quest. I always like the side quest though that sometimes will do the opposite. Like the side quest will only take place like right there. There was one game, and I'm sorry I can't think of the game right now, but it's almost actually no, I can. It's Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
It's the one where you have to go to the club. First, it's a main quest thing, but then you can do it to the side after that and level up. I think you get a reward for doing it. I think maybe you get infinite run or something. But it's seriously like button combinations that you have to do while he's dancing on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that was fun. And the game, Grand Theft Auto, to me, was one of the games that really made side quests really cool. And I'm not even just talking about the quests that don't really pertain to the main quest. You know what I mean? Just like the extra stuff, like the taxi missions, the ambulance missions, things like that. If we're talking about games though that have side quests that just take you away from the basic area, you can't go wrong with any of the Skyrim, Elder Scrolls games, both Oblivion and Skyrim. The two games I really played most of. I really didn't play too much of Morrowind. You would go far from the playing field to do stuff, and sometimes it would look weird. I got this one side quest. Do modded side quests count if we're talking about best side quests?
Why not? Let's just keep questing away.
Super Skyrim Brothers. So what happens is, if you go to the town of Winterhold, you'll find a cabin with a bed in it. Now, before you sleep, it tells you if you sleep in this bed, you got to play this side quest now. You can't just go back. And you end up going through this Super Mario Brothers theme thing. At Skyrim, mind you, you're still swinging swords and all that. You're fighting Goombas, Koopa Troopers, all this other stuff in this bright, vivid, acid trip Mario world. It doesn't use any of the music. I think there's some copywriting things that they're trying to avoid, you know what I mean? But it was just so unique, and it takes a while. It is a big quest. You have to go through 8 different areas, one for each world, till you get to the end. And at the end of it, the main things you get is you get the Mario uniform, the Luigi uniform, and a Hammer Brother hammer for a weapon.
Oh, I love that idea. love
Oh,
it when
you get some mushrooms that like heal you and stuff like that that you can like use for alchemy and stuff. Very fun. And it takes you away from the element, I'll tell you that.
yeah. I just I always think of when I'm doing these side quests. Like I remember one that with Watch Dogs. I don't know if you ever played the original Watch Dogs. That's when I think the developers go that they're trying to like experiment with something. Like for example, in that game, they got him drugged up, and so if he took this weird pill, all of a sudden there's rainbows and crap everywhere, and he's like jumping out of clouds. And there was this mission that it was almost like a platforming game, but it was like very floaty and dreamy. And but if you played a whole game like that, it would have been like way too much. You couldn't have done that. So that's where I think the side quests do some really fun thing. It's like, this is a really cool mechanic, but we cannot give you that for the full game because it would just break your brain. You could not do it type thing. And so I like those ideas, especially for a side quest.
Another side quest kind of thing I want to differentiate is what I would call a passive side quest. Example, going to the Grand Theft Auto wheel again, is like the 100 hidden packages in Grand Theft Auto 3. It's like they're just out there. You know, you could grab these things when you're doing something else, but an objective is to get all the 100 hidden packages, and you get rewarded for it. You see that a lot even today with
the Riddler trophies.
Riddler, perfect example.
Yeah.
Riddler trophies. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Just like most of the passive side quests are usually based around finding MacGuffins. You know, find a bunch of this, find a bunch of that, find the tapes.
Yeah.
You know, find the the stars. Resident Evil Village, the goats. Destroy all them.
Or the
stuff like that.
The bobbleheads, were there bobbleheads too in there?
Bobblehead.
Yeah,
exactly like that. Pretty much that. I've always dug those as long as they're done well and they're very imaginative on where they. And also, don't make them too hard. I always hate it when like I'm not the kind of guy that will like look through every nook and cranny, and you do want this stuff to be hard to find. Having said that, anytime I play a game, it's like, oh, if you find 20 of these, you know, blah, 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 and you find like 2.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. You know, it's like, damn, how buried are these things?
Yeah.
You
know? Sometimes you think, oh, they don't really want the people to do that. Like I'm going through that with it at the moment with what I'm building. I just like, how much do I want people to get this? What percentage of players do you want to get these actual parts of the game worked out? And it's a tricky balancing act, I guess.
No, because you do want the challenge. You want to be challenged.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing the game, you want, and it feels great if you happen to find something like that that took some ingenuity. It gives you that boost. That's the reason why, part of the reason why we're doing this.
Yeah.
But some of them are just like, you if you read the guide, you'd be like, yeah, there'd be no way in hell I'd ever find that.
Yeah, I remember Tomb Raider had some really, really crazy, the early Tomb Raiders, she had some really crazy, especially around the manor area where you could unlock parts of the manor. You had like a minute to swim through this tunnel all the way through to open up this thing. It really wasn't a side quest. It was more a hidden area. Like hidden areas are kind of side quests, I guess, where there's treasure and stuff in there, but and they're not part of the main story. But you only had, basically you could do it in 55 seconds, and that was like going flat out. And you had 5 seconds error, like that. They really didn't want people to do that type thing. You had to be precise to get it done.
In Tomb Raider 2, the first level, the Great Wall level, there's this like you can find the 3 dragons, and you get like, health, ammo, all that, and like you enter this room and you land down, and the walls are coming in like that, and you just got to go through on this corridor. But right in the middle of that room where the walls are coming in is one of the dragons. In order to get it properly, you have to run over, land perfectly on it. And anyone that played Tomb Raider knows when you walk around, especially old ones, moving around Lara Croft can be a little tough as far as like precision. place her where she needs to be on the item so she can pick up the item. And as soon as she picks up the item, you have to press the circle button so she'll do a forward roll and get out of there. You can't run. If you run, they'll kill you.
Yeah,
Tough.
they are tough ones. And, like, kids these days would never find them.
Man.
They'd be like, too hard.
Don't put that in your game.
No.
Don't put a wall thing that you have to grab something.
Yeah. No, that's not cool.
No, that's not cool at all. That's tough. But the passive side quests are good. Then you got your more rigid side quests, like the ones we mentioned, like mostly in RPGs where, you're not doing the maid thing, you're not saving the princess, you're not defeating the king, but this is significant. This does involve NPCs. It involves voice, it involves a story within this side quest. Those are your more beefier, and these side quests have quests in them. And then you got more your I would call them active side quests.
Yeah, okay, go. Yeah, active side quests.
Well, that's like Dead Space, like the new one where you have to like find, go to this area and scan this, or find this person right here.
Yeah.
Where it's separated enough from the main story. The story of the side quest really doesn't. You're just finding out information. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. I was gonna say. Then they've got like the route. Witcher 3 does this. I think. What do you call it? The Cyberpunk does it as well. Having like those weird love interests where you can go and pay some lady a few dollars and you could have your side quest way with that said person. That they seem to make it into a lot of like games as well. Like where it's like we're gonna put this in here for the weird fans that want to do some kinky shit. But we won't. We won't make everyone sit through this whole embarrassment.
Well, I mean, there are games where there'll be sex side, but then again, there's games where the side quest is that you become a vicious assassin.
Oh,
so there's side quests where you become an arena gladiator, smashing in skulls. A Lothario ain't that far off. I didn't play Witcher too much, but I do know there are some games. Well, we're going back to Grand Theft Auto. I don't know if I call it a side quest necessarily, but you can drive around at nighttime with a couple bucks. Just you and the ladies.
What about when you're playing Grand Theft Auto or any kind of city game with a car in it? Lego does it a lot too, where the side quest would be to drive through all these hoops. It's basically a racing simulator in a side quest type of thing.
One game that did great with that was Saints Row 2. Saints Row 2 had a lot of fun driving around-esque side quests. Like the, I forget, I think it was called Blazing Trail or Trailblazing, where there's different marks, like rally points, and like this will just be in a random spot in the city, and you're driving this little quad, and you're wearing a hazard suit, and you're on fire. And what you gotta do is you gotta hit all the rally points because there's explosives there, and they explode, and it's pretty cool, and that's what it is. You're just driving around this area. I do like side quests like that, as long as they're not racing side quests. I hate racing side quests, but rally style driving, I don't mind.
So as long as it's not like it's timed is okay, but not racing other people as a side quest.
Because there's just so much room to mess up. They're driving aggressively, you're driving aggressively. I find personally, for me, my success rate is better with the rally racing as opposed to the actual competitive racing.
Yeah, I think my most hated side quest is, like you've just woken this up in me, is when you have to come back to a said point at a said time. Like, be here tonight at 6:00. And and they don't have a button.
And then you get worried, so you save it.
Yeah, or you forget and you come back there at like 7:00 and they're like, "Oh, come back tomorrow at 6:00," and you're like, "Oh." Yeah.
That right there, like the mecca of time side quest, Majora's Mask.
Yeah. Like,
that's all about being here on this time, during this time of day, and for side stuff that don't matter, and it could be, there's one quest in Actually, I nominate this for the greatest side quest of all time.
Oh,
I can't remember the characters' names, but when you reunite those two, star-crossed lovers in Majora's Mask,
you loved it. But did it just make you
okay, so
warm and fuzzy inside?
well, because what's cool about it is that the quest ends like an hour and a half before the moon crashes.
Okay.
So it's kind of bittersweet. You get them together, and they're like, "Oh, we don't care if the moon crashes. We're together." And on one hand, that's sweet that they're in love and all that, but on the other hand, you got to go back. Which means they got to go back because you're not done. You got the piece of heart or the mask. I forget. I don't remember what it is. A rare thing you get. It's something you want, but after you get it, everyone goes back to the first day.
Yeah. I haven't played through that one, so I haven't got that side quest. So that now
it's later in the game. You need a lot of. It's one of those quests that really, it's piece by piece by piece. You need to get certain items at certain times, and just play. It's cool. The ending's worth it, but it makes you work for it.
Fair enough. Yeah, but time side quests are not for me. What about the side quests where you are playing a game? So I'm playing whatever game it is. I've got like a whole heap of guns. I've got all this inventory, and then I start the side quests, and they've stripped me back to nothing. And I've got nothing again, and I've got to go and do the side quests, and then at the end of the side quests, I get back to all my normal stuff. That can be sometimes frustrating in a game. I get the idea.
Top of my head, the Sheogorath quest from Skyrim did that. Any side quest where you get captured.
Zelda done that a fair bit as well. In the newer ones, the
island there.
Yeah, shrines or islands, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was.
That's tough. That's always rough. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Some like the Sheogorath one I mentioned. There isn't too much combat in that, so it really doesn't matter that you get stripped of all your stuff. But a lot of the ones in Zelda, like you mentioned, you get so used just to having all this cool weaponry and like nice armor that can just like cut through. Like you'll take it on Guardians, no problem. And then now you can't use any of that.
Yeah, like, oh, why is this so hard? Yeah, I get what they're trying to do, and I understand the idea, but just for me, I think it takes away from the game sometimes, those particular side quests. Yeah. I just trying to think of other side quests that I could. There's so many to go through.
Well, one of my another side quest I will give a shout out to. Speaking of the Fallout series, there's a side quest where in Fallout 3 you go to an area called Rivet City.
Yeah.
And at Rivet City, there's two people there, representatives from the Institute that's based in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
They're looking for a synthetic person that might be in River City. And that's all it is, just side quests. You find this person, they deal with it, maybe turn them in, maybe you help them, who knows. But that right there is the seed which launches the main plot of Fallout 4, which takes place in the Commonwealth, which involves the Institute and the synths and all that stuff. So that's a cool, very forward-thinking side quest, that would lead on to bigger things. I always like seeing that in certain games, especially when like you'll see sequels, like maybe you'll do something in this quest, and now the next game it'll be different somehow, or sometimes it'll work the other way around if there's a prequel involved.
Yeah. Well, hey, is this a side quest? We need a clarification here. So you don't get anything in the game except for say, grab a chicken and fly with a chicken for 5 kilometers in the game. That will then unlock an achievement. There's nothing in the game that you'll get from it, but there's an achievement from it. Is that a whole different topic of achievement hunting, or is that a side quest?
Well, okay, so you can include that into what I would call an achievement side quest. Yeah, I do consider that a side quest because you do get that reward.
Yeah. I find some of them fun because they're just like little things that they've discovered in a game. They're playing it like, oh, we can actually fly with this chicken. Oh, okay. Let's make it that you have to fly like a certain distance, and then you'll get.
And not even that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love those.
I mean, like you might get a game that says like, decapitate 100 people. So now you're trying to take, it doesn't give you anything in the game, but then you hear that little pop and you're like,
Yeah, I did that. Yeah. Because I do like those little bits too in games. They're a lot of fun for me. Especially if you're the collector kind of guy. I think that's where your MacGuffins and that come into that idea of most of the time that'll only be an achievement that you'll get from a lot of those instead of it being a whole in-game reward, I guess. So, yeah. Worst side quest. Have you got a worst side quest that you've hated?
any side quest where you have to escort someone.
Oh,
Doesn't matter what game it is.
God.
If you got to escort someone, and there's a couple of them,
Mm-hmm.
God. And it's like Saints Row had a couple. Skyrim and Fallout and anything Bethesda's got a few of those. And they're always just a pain in the butt. Sometimes, I always call it snow shoveling. Sometimes you actually have to snow shovel them, which means like their character model will be there. They're not moving. You have to get behind them and actually walk to them so they move to the location where they need to be.
I was going to say, I've done, especially the early versions of these escorting people. I remember going through multiple of them, and you get caught in it. They would get caught behind a car or in a tree, and then you have to go and restart that mission just to walk with them all this way again. Oh my God, it was exhausting. The first version, whoever thought that up, they should never make another game as long as they live.
Because what makes it worse, if you gotta do escort in the main game, they're gonna work on it enough that it's not gonna be so problematic. You know what I mean? It'll get tested because the main game. But once you go to side quest, they're not gonna test every nook and cranny of a side quest, especially if that side quest has to do with escorting. So you always run into those problems where they get stuck on some stupid little polygon.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Escorting should be. Unless it's the other kind of escort, if you know what I mean. That's fine.
Going back to that witch we were talking about.
Yeah. That's some of the funner side quests, but yeah. I think there's so I don't know. It's hard to put like a quintessential. This is the great. Like I can't put my favorite down. Like you've got like.
Majority.
Yeah,
well, there's other ones
there's
too. I mean,
top, you have to have a top, but I'm just thinking of them offhand. It's always those ones that make me smile, and they've just got like get drunk and then go and get wasted on here and go and like do something really bizarre for no reason. There was one, I think, was it in Saints Row, or I think it was, where you had to go and kill a mascot, and then you had to put on his mascot uniform to then go and rob a bank or something like that. Like I thought that was kind of funny too. Like I don't know if it was Saints Row, it might have been Granted. It was one of those.
Sounds like Saints Row. You kill a lot of mascots. That sounds like Saints Row 3.
Yeah. And I just thought that was just hilarious. Like just dumb things like that. And you're just running into a bank dressed up as a gorilla, or whatever it was, crocodile maybe. And yeah, I love those kind of ones. They make me laugh.
And even though I did kind of, I may have been too harsh on it, it's got to be said that the Chocobo breeding for Final Fantasy VII is up there in my favorite side quest of all time. It's very time consuming. And there is some trial and error. Make a lot of states, save it, make sure you have a memory card, and going back and forth just to make sure you can breed the right chocobos. And the reward is really cool. But that whole experience, I like that side quest. I think that's a really good one. Well, I can see someone not liking it, but I enjoy it.
That's one of the ones that I like as well, but from a different point of view. Assassin's Creed Origins, there's actually a side quest where you get given a chocobo and the armor that suits Final Fantasy as well. So you can ride around on your chocobo, and it's like a beast of a horse too. So it actually like outperforms all the other horses. So it's well worth doing. It ticks all those boxes, but a crossover side quest, I think they're awesome as well. Like I said, the Stranger Things one, Yeah, there's a few crossover side quests. You like the Luigi one. Yeah, let's go with crossover side quests.
Yeah, well, most of the crossover side quests I got, like I said, they're modded stuff. Any game has any. Grand Theft Auto has a couple of them. You know, I've seen a side quest where like people build these like race cars like way up high in the city. You know, like these racetracks, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So just different stuff. You know, that you can manipulate, which are fun, but at the same time, they're not canon. You know, they're not like meant for the game, which means a lot of times they might break down or they might not work properly.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, off the side quests, I'm just thinking Resident Evil 9 has been named as well.
Yeah, they're slowly leaking stuff about Resident Evil 9. Looking forward to it. You know, I don't think they've ever planned on it, but it seems like they're doing Resident Evil in trilogies.
Yeah, they
1, 2,
did
and
say
3.
they said 7, 8, 9 are a trilogy.
Right, yeah, because 1 and 2 and 3 had their own theme. 4, 5, and 6 had their own theme. It just makes sense that 7, 8, and 9 will have their own theme.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it ends well. The first trilogy ended all right. Resident Evil 3 wasn't bad. It was just more 2. The second trilogy ended terrible.
I didn't like 3 very much. I thought 2 was fantastic. You know what I mean?
Are we talking old 3 or new 3?
Either. I only played the new one.
True. Nah, you're right. Either one is just kind of a retread of 2.
Yeah.
You know, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was kind of like just that's exactly what 3 is. It's just like, hey, we've already made all this stuff for 2. Let's just play it back to front or something and sell it as a third.
Right.
Thing.
Like Resident Evil 3 might be one of the funniest remakes ever because that was the exact same feeling you had back in like 2000 when you were playing Resident Evil 3. You're just like, yep, this is just more Resident Evil 2. All right.
So, but it's going to be interesting to see how they tie it into Resident Evil 7, I guess, more so than 8. I feel like you could carry on from 8 a lot. But,
yeah,
but
there'll be something.
But if they can tie into like number 7, that'd be pretty cool. So.
I know. I just hope they keep it. Like 8 was definitely more action based than 7, but 8 still felt like, you know, claustrophobic. It still gave you that feeling, you know.
Yeah.
It definitely was more leaning towards 7 than I would say leaning toward, even though it does lean towards 4 quite a bit. You still get that feeling. It's not just the first person view either. You know, it's just the way the weapons work and all that. So I just hope they don't go too off the rails because Resident Evil has gone off the rails before. You know, so here's hoping.
Well, I'm assuming we're going to get 9, then we'll get 5 again, then 6. You know what I mean? That it makes sense.
Nah, well, the only 2 ones I don't see them I said the same thing about 4, so what do I know? But I really don't see them remaking 5 and 6. But if they really want to, the obvious choice is Code Veronica. You know, people like Code Veronica. I like Code Veronica. It's got a good story. For the time, it was the best Resident Evil game available. So I would definitely love to see that remade. And also, even though it would be quite silly, they could remake Resident Evil 1 again.
I want them to remake that again because that's the one that I really want them to remake.
Because it's so weird when you play Resident Evil 1997. All right, then play Resident Evil 2004. Yeah, the graphics are different. They clean up the story. Admittedly, the gameplay itself is a little cleaned up, but it's more or less the same game. The mechanics are the same. The location's the same. You know, all that. Now play Resident Evil 2 98. And then play Resident Evil 2 2019. Completely different game, you know? The mechanics are 100% different.
I really liked number 2, number 8. They were probably my favorite ones, but they were really, really, really cool games. So I'm thinking number 1 should kind of come through again.
That'd be great.
It would make sense because I feel like number 1's probably the original idea that they've never nailed. You know what I mean?
One thing they could do, this would be hard because the story for this sucks. And now we're not talking about side quests, we're talking side games. Resident Evil Survivor, have you ever heard of it?
No.
All right, and you shouldn't either. What it was it was supposed to be a light gun game.
Okay.
a Resident Evil light gun game, but I don't know if it wasn't compatible everywhere else but Japan, but it just ended up being a game. It's still light gun, but you use a controller to shoot the zombies.
Yeah.
You just point the reticle at what you want to kill, and there you go. And like you do move around, but don't think it's like Resident Evil 7 and 8 with its first personness. It's not at all. But that's not even the worst part of the game. The worst part of the game, it's got one of the worst, like just a really, even for Resident Evil standards, a very cheesy story with very cheesy voice acting.
Yeah. It's not cool. But yeah.
Nah, but they could remake that and actually like make it good.
No, I think they're going to remake. I think they're going to make 5 and 6 next. That would tie everything up to the modern standards, and maybe number 1 again.
See, the problem with that though is because like 5 and 6 is where the series starts to lose me. 5's good, but they just focus way too much on the multiplayer aspect of it.
Yeah, but if they made 4. They made 4, which is like you say, like you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they made 4 a completely different game to number 4, as far as I've heard. So maybe they do that with 5 and 6, turn them into like really good single player games.
Maybe. I mean, I'd like that. It'd be good. And of course, if they did that, I'd get it. But I'm still holding out for Code Veronica. I think that'd be like my to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sorry for changing off side quests. That was a side quest in the show. A Resident Evil side quest.
Well, we were talking about side games here. But, they're related somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhat. But yeah, well, most of the time, side games are DLC. Maybe we should do a DLC episode or something like that one day.
I'd be down. Maybe that'll be that's next episode.
That's next. Well, I don't know, because I think DLC kind of links back to side quests a lot. Like there's a lot of
it does. I mean, because that's what it's about.
Most people go, "Oh, let's sell you this game, and now let's add some more side quest DLC." Like DLC is always a side quest.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually,
and then,
now I think about it, one of the best side quests, well, it was DLC, but it was the one from Black Flag. That was really good.
Black Flag was a good game.
No, did you ever play the DLC in that, where you're playing as a different guy?
I don't think I did, no.
Yeah, and because the whole thing in Black Flag was the pirates thing, so in the DLC, you went around and help free the slavery in that, because that era was full of slavery and stuff. It was such a like liberating moment in a game. So yeah, it was one of the greatest DLCs that I've seen. So yeah. I've run out of me to talk about.
It's all right. Well, I'll just bring it back. You did say that like games today are incredibly long, and it's because of side quest. And even though, yes, sometimes even I'm playing through a game just like, it is nice knowing, because I would have, as a kid, I would have loved for my video games to have a ton of side quests in them to stretch it out, because back when I was a kid, the longest game would be like Zelda, and that'd only be like, 3 hours or so. Like, if someone told me, oh, guess what, here's Zelda, but here's some DLC, there's 4 new dungeons, a couple new items, new enemies, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I hope this is the future forever.
Where do I pay for this?
Why was online?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I always wanted there to be more when I was younger, but then nowadays,
less.
Well, yeah, I want less, but then kids nowadays want just skins. Like, I feel like they're missing the whole point of games. There's too much skins.
They're taking the questing out of side questing.
They just want to pay for the skin, so they don't have to worry about, get mum and dad to buy them a skin, so they don't have to worry about the side quests. That's
right. Get out there, do that side stuff. Come on.
No, they don't want to. They just want to go outside and be popular or whatever they do, and then they come back home and buy their skins. Yeah, it's gross. Oh well. Anything else on side quests for this time, or we going to?
Actually, no, yeah, I'm probably after I get off with you, I'm probably gonna go on Fallout and play some side quest. I want to try. I'm gonna defuse the megaton bomb so I can get the house in megaton first. That's the first side quest I tackle because you need a home base in the game.
Yes,
A
100%.
place to, any game like that, you need a place to put all your stuff.
I agree.
So that's what I'll be working on.
I'm just gonna play another 7 games for next time, and you'll be like, "Oh, he's got too
Just
many."
very streamlined games with no side quests.
Yeah.
Just point
And
from
you
front
go,
to end, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Why is he talking so much about this crap anyway? All right, we'll talk to you.